maybe for Tom and Teri both, and Teri, you addressed this a little bit, but the potential impact this could have on recruiting.
Oh, there's no question. Even right now, since we've been here in the last 2 years, like I said, walking down the candy stripe hallway onto the floor was moments of, again, jaw dropping. For those not just recruits but also their families. And so now it's, again, with it being finished now, and we were entertaining with the floor still covered, and for folks to walk in there and just be in awe of the place in the current condition was one thing, but now that it's finished, it's absolutely beautiful as far as facility. There's no question that it will impact our recruiting from the fact that we talk about it being one of the finest facilities in the country. There's not a lot of other teams that like to come into Assembly Hall and play us, the men's or the women's team. So there certainly is a home court advantage, and we're just really excited and honored to be able to really show our hopefully our future, what Assembly Hall is all about.
I'll say this is exactly what we said in our meetings the other day. And Tim Buckley credit for this, because we're talking about recruiting, and it's a recruiting meeting a couple times a day, and it's very easy sometimes with recruits, especially that are in this area, where they can get here and they can see this type of thing, or what's wrong with us, right? When we don't get somebody, no, it's what's wrong with them. All right, when you look at this and you look at the world-class education you're going to get. Okay, now if you're looking for the right reasons, right? If we're looking for what is going to put somebody that they're really looking at school and basketball and athletics for the right reasons. You got an incredible school, you got a beautiful campus, you got an incredible location. All right, we're winning. She's winning. All right, we're winning the Big Ten championship 2 of the last 4 years. Guys are going into the NBA. Our money right now with the guys we've coached, that I've coached alone between here and Marquette, starts this year at $372 million. All right, guys are graduating. They're graduating early. We play in a premier conference, and now we have a building that was already, all right, in a class by itself, and it just elevated even further with what's been done here. And that sounds wrong, so be it. I mean, it's really the truth. If you're looking for the right things, there's not really what's not here. And that's why we don't want to ever have a player on our team or a player that comes in that takes any of this for granted, because we're living proof in 9 years that it didn't start this way in the sense of where the program was at. And getting it back to the level that it's at and continuing to strive to be at that level constantly means a lot of people do a lot of things, and they do it together. And I think you just saw that, the way that this entire building has been put together, from the planning to the money donated, to the people that worked tirelessly 7 days a week to get this right, and all the people now that have a chance to partake in it is people that work in it or people that play in it. Tim Buckley didn't say all that, but he did. Some of that's my own. But the thing about what's wrong with them, I like that. We're going to make a poster of that in the office.
Mike?
This is also a question for Tom and Teri both. Have you guys had a chance to practice in the arena floor yet?
We were in there yesterday afternoon, so still has the same traditional feel on the floor. Just looking up the natural light that has an opportunity to come in now makes it brighter. Certainly looking up at that video board is pretty incredible thing to see. But still really felt the same as far as for our players and for our staff. And I think that's one of the things that we wanted to keep, and that was the tradition, of the floor for sure.
We've been in there Wednesday. We're practicing tonight. I'm not sure exactly what our logistics are for tonight, but we'll be in there this weekend, and Teri will be in there in the morning, correct? So it's back to business for us, and then we just got to get used to the new surroundings a little bit, as we get closer to game time.
Okay. Please.
This is for Fred. When this project first started and y'all broke ground, with construction projects, sometimes there's hang-ups, but this seemed to go pretty smoothly. Would you have envisioned that happening as smoothly as it has gone?
I hoped it would, but you kind of hope for the best and prepare for the worst. I think if there was a secret to the success, I really believe it was being very disciplined and setting out what our central program was from the beginning. And we didn't do that in a vacuum. We did it in collaboration with Tom Morrison. We had the coaches involved, President McRobbie involved. and we agreed on these are the essential program elements that we're just not going to compromise on. We had some other wishes and some other things and so forth that we could give on, but we knew the essential pieces that we were going to do. And that sounds very elementary, but I think sometimes when projects go over budget or over time, it's because there hasn't been enough planning and discipline on the front end. And so I think that paid off, because there were times when it was hard to stick with some of those elements because the stuff was more expensive than we thought, or there were infrastructure implications. But we said, nope, this is part of what we're going to do. We'll spend the extra money and we'll set it off somewhere else.
Mr. Morrison, could you elaborate further, please?
Yeah, very successful project. And you know, we at Indiana University across all of our campuses do over $200 million worth of construction a year. But I would tell you, out of the top 10 projects I worry about, this wasn't one of them. And that has to do with good communication. It has to do with the goals that Fred talked about, and establishing those up front and living within a budget and living within a time frame. We had great cooperation from our contractor partners, Shield Sexton from Indianapolis, great architects, CSO and Smith Group, great assistance from the athletic staff, Eric Newberger, Becky Panning, and all of the folks internal to the university. It was a great team effort, and you know, finished on time, on budget. Really not a lot of headaches or hiccups.
Mike?
Fred, you may have itemized this, but the number of student tickets, has that changed now that we've had this rearrangement of the hall?
It has not, although we will have 98 new seats in the south bleachers, given the relocation to the very nice permanent media seating that we've created in the concourse. So that might actually be a net add of 98 to the student section, because I guess they won't be displaced from somewhere else. So hopefully it's about 100 more in what already is, of course, the biggest student section in college basketball. Probably mention that one of our goals was to hold the capacity where it is. We didn't want to lose seats, and we weren't completely successful in that, but largely successful in that with some of the accessibility components that we added in. We lost about 250 seats, so the new capacity for Assembly Hall is 17,222. But given in Michigan's renovation, they lost 1,000 seats. In Illinois' renovation, they lost 1,500 seats. And so while I wish we hadn't lost those 250, it's a fairly minimal amount, and they were largely seats that, you know, weren't our best seats anyway.
Steve?
Just a question for all of you. I mean, how pleased were you with the timing of it being able to happen on homecoming weekend when so many fans and alumni and former players could come back and see all this?
Well, that was kind of the plan. We thought, let's do it when busy people are in town. The IU Foundation was having its meetings this weekend. As you mentioned, a lot of this rank and file fans were here for homecoming because we really want to share this building. It was built to share the window on the court, if you will, was very purposeful. It'll be a great in-game experience, but also we have people from you know, Linton and Greensburg and Fort Wayne and Floyd's Knob, you know, show up unannounced and say, I want to see that floor, you know. And sometimes if Tom's around, I'll take him in and show it to him, but a lot of times they can't get to it. Well, now from 9 to 5 every day, the south lobby of Simon Scott Assembly Hall will be staffed, and people can come in and they can see the floor. They can walk around and see the action in the Cuban Center, and they can engage in the interactive screen. So we think it's a jewel. We think we're custodians for it for the whole state, and we're doing our best to make it very available.
Okay, time for one more question.
For both coaches, you mentioned kind of the newer guys not wanting to have them take it for granted, but how much do you think that the juniors and seniors have really appreciated the change that we're able to make?
Well, there's no question that that's our job, my job, as a leader of our women's basketball program, to make sure that we never take anything for granted. You know, from the amenities of Cook Hall, the 24-hour, 7-day-a-week access that they have to that building, and now, you know, the newly renovated Simon Scott Assembly Hall. So there's no doubt that they know how lucky and how blessed we are to, as I mentioned, not only go to a university that has such a tremendous academic reputation, but also have the amenities and the facilities. As Tom mentioned, it's unlike any facility in the country, and we're really just thrilled and honored and humbled to be able to say that that this is our home, and we get to be in here every single day, and our kids don't take that for granted.
Here's what I would say to that in the sense of what Teri's trying to do, what we're trying to do, what really everybody at Indiana University is trying to do. You're trying to bring people in that appreciate the values of this university. And everybody comes from different walks of life and backgrounds and areas, but the values of this university really are all over the university, but they're really epitomized in this building now. And Fred and Tom and everybody deserves so much credit for a couple of these things. When new buildings come up and you see a new building, and I haven't been in all of them when they get built, but sometimes there's some things you just can't identify with around the country. And it gets so modernized, and it gets so much about the bells and the whistles, right? That it's not about what's realistic. What's realistic about this building is anybody that walks in here, whether they're a 50-year season ticket holder, okay? Whether they're a 5-year season ticket holder, whether they're a 5-year-old, they're gonna be able to identify with what this building is about. Case in point, the floor. I mean, that was Fred's idea and his team. That's an incredible thing. I'm upstairs at the beginning, and Wayne Radford and Steve Allfeld are standing there, and he says, Steve, there's the mark where you slammed me to the ground my freshman year, right? It's like there's going to be 100,000 stories about that floor as we go because so many people witness games. The scoreboard, all right, when you walk up the stairs, when the statues come in, there's so many memories. Cook Hall gave us a glimpse of that. Well, now there's just going to be a titanic explosion of that in here with where people can go, and it's going to give all the programs at Indiana, namely our two, but the athletic department, the fans, there's going to be sustainable traction in this building for our players to not only look at it and feel at home, but also respect where they're at in a great deal, but to understand that they're a part of something really that is truly bigger than any one of us and any one player or person. And the building gives you that. And I think they mastered it. I really do. I have not even been all the way through it yet. There was parts of it I hadn't been in until today. And I can't even put it into words. And I'm not from here, right? When people come through here that have been alums of this building, or been alums of this university, families, that was one of the things that really, Teri wasn't here yet for this, even Fred wasn't here yet at this point. But when we got started here, and we were dealing with so many different things in 2008, one of the great inspirations were the families that would come in here. I've seen people cry in that building with their families because they were getting to see the court for the first time. They were bringing a grandchild to see it. My first week here, a family came from Florida. My third week here, a family came that was on a vacation from Italy. You know, I mean, and it like hits you like this place is at another level. And they just took the building to that in a big way. And I think it'll be, that sustainable traction will be there for decades now. Decades, many decades.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.